And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Anytime you're talking about fundamentals in a market and direction, fundamentals take a little bit of time to play out.
We got crude oil today, kind of trading yesterday's value area really nicely, low to high.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trading routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Market Recap. Wednesday, April the 20th. Yes, 420. I'm John. Hopefully you had a good trading day. Thanks for trusting me with your time this afternoon. A shout out to all of you who attended group coaching today. I thought it was a really good session. If I did not get to your questions, I do apologize. Just keep coming and keep asking the questions. Of course, nobody knows everything. I most certainly do not. But if I know, we're going to find out. And if I don't, we're going to find out together. How's that sound? Interesting trading day today, as we were expecting. One of the more interesting things that occurred today was when the EIA announced an 8 million barrel draw in crude stocks, the price broke. It was a knee-jerk to the opposite direction of where technically or fundamentally you would think that would happen. It did recover, but only settled slightly higher. The E-mini S&Ps, the late spike base, holds early in the session. The market auction's lower, but it looks like we got the short time frame traders a little bit too short for continuation that late in the day. NASDAQ's been under the spell of Netflix all day long. They were like two different markets today, and they are same but different. The gold, small range-bound day, really surrounding weekly kickoff low. We talked about that we talked about that this morning. Is just to be careful if you're going to be using that level as a long above, short below tool, because it can certainly chew you up when these important inflection levels take a little longer for the longer time frame to make a decision in and around. The euro gap rules. Okay, we didn't close the gap, but we kind of a small way, not a big range today, not a big opportunity. The 10-year previous gap closed, the gap between yesterday and the day before. We closed that gap, probably just cleaning up some old business in that repair before we continue the move to the downside. We know rates are going higher. We're going to have to wait probably 2 weeks to find out how much, unless there is a intra-meeting move. It's been suggested that there's a number of the FOMC committee that believes that that may be an opportunity, or at least something that they would be thinking about doing. In our nat gas, we have our island top, which does remain. We traded up to that weekly kickoff level, rejected it before the close, and continued to move lower throughout the day in nat gas. So good news, hopefully, for those of us who use nat gas, and I think that's just about everybody. Tomorrow, it's Make Hogue Money Day again, right after the market forecast at 8:20. We're going to get together. You guys are going to start talking about what decisions to make. We're going to vote. We're going to take them. We're going to see if we can make some money. A tough day on Tuesday, and that's all right. We were actually still up in the account overall. And looking forward to succeeding in that account, because if that's the case, we're going live. All right. As always, I'm going to say hello to everybody. Tachyon, always a good idea to check and make sure you don't have any orders hanging out there that we forget to cancel throughout the day. Glad you caught that. Nice day today, 13.10. Almost lost the combine, though. Tragic comedy. Now, I like that. Good afternoon, Rick. Love you. Frederico, Vince, I love this. It's a great day at the World Wrestling Federation of Commodities Trading, WWFCT. Yet another acronym we can add to our quiver. I like that because, boy, it certainly seems like wrestling on a lot of days, doesn't it? Scott Saw, and I hope you conquered. Giacomo, good afternoon. Bill. Dan, another incredible trading day. Plenty of ways to get chopped up off the open. Of course, those opens have been tough, but if you preserve your bullets, there were lots of good rotations in the bearish flow. ES failed the opening range 3 times, bounced at yesterday's point of control. NASDAQ lower balance all day long. Yeah, NASDAQ was under the spell of Netflix. We have the Tesla earnings due out. I don't see them on my screen here just yet. Let me no, I don't see them yet. I'm sure they're probably out. I'm just not getting them just yet. So we're still waiting for Tesla. Joe, back again, edging closer to the combine qualification. Small gains, but controlling risks. Taking my time for a change. Joe, good job. That's what it takes. The less you lose, the more you're going to stand to make. Take your time. One thing I can suggest is don't focus on that final goal. If you focus on getting to that goal, you start getting near it. You start doing things that might be outside your strategy just to get there. Don't do that. Think every day when you sit down to trade, you're starting from zero. Scott Saw, yup, was decent. Bad trade in the morning. 2 good ones in the afternoon. No complaints here. Good. Good. Glad to hear you had a good day, Scott. As far as news is concerned, just kind of looking at things as we were getting ready for the recap here. We're looking at for Tesla's earnings. Still don't see them here just yet. They're probably out, but Tesla was down 4% before the earnings came out. Just kind of watching to see. So you guys may see them already. Hello, Spencer and Denise. Good to see you. Netflix lost 35%. It's over 500. Excuse me. It's over 50 billion in market cap. Now they're talking about perhaps adding commercials to shore up their shares. Traders seem to be searching for what the next earnings blow up is going to be. Fed's daily says the economy can handle rate hikes, but a mild recession is possible. So maybe it'll just be a mild recession. It's almost like that line from As Good as It Gets. Was he in danger? Grave danger. Is there another kind? Home prices set a record home pricing set a record high in March as inventories have dwindled. The UN Secretary General has asked President Zelensky and Putin for a meeting to discuss a peace treaty. God, I hope and pray that they can pull that off. That would be a wonderful thing. Terry, good afternoon. Joe, I've gotten within $100 twice, only to get too anxious and take a big step back. Yeah, the goals, financial goals and time-based goals in trading have the opposite effect. It's one of the paradoxes. I'm preparing for some sort of class because there's a lot of paradoxes when it comes to trading, especially in futures. Just every day you start from zero. Every trade you start from zero. And you'll get there. You'll get there. It's more the tortoise than the hare that gets to do this for a long, long period of time. All right. Why don't we go ahead and dig through these charts? We got crude oil daily up today, and we ended the day with basically a doji right in the middle of the range. Who knows what's going to happen there? Very confusing. It's going to be a challenging trading day for it tomorrow. Let's take a look. So here's our daily in crude. We go back into the coiling energy building. Again, if you'll pardon the pun, we did have expiration of the May contract this today. Market state fell back into range, back into the pennant formation. That hasn't changed. Take a look at the 30-minute chart. So we open in range and in value, and that kind of tells us better trade locations are likely to come as the day goes on. We did put up the high for the session early in the session, but again, inside range and value. Here's the is that right? 9:30 Central. The number comes out. I don't know why we took this dive so late in the day, but the initial knee jerk was to the downside. And then we found some continuation of the downside. Maybe there was some speculation in traders that this was going to be a big draw. Maybe they were already too long in order for the market to continue. All those longs didn't get what they were looking for. We get the opposite move, and then we return basically right back to where we started the overnight session, just above settlement. What are we looking at for tomorrow? Well, when we look at this daily chart, we're in short time frame control. We're in an area of balance. We're in an area where longer time frame traders probably don't care too much about anything that's going on in the middle here. Our little tennis player we talk about is center court looking for the next volley, whether the volley's down here or the volley's up here. He's prepared to run to it. Tesla is out. I still don't have it. Why is this so slow? All right, well, let's continue moving along here. So tomorrow, unless something changes, I'm going to be very cautious. We're still in this range tomorrow. I'm going to be looking at short time frame levels, which to lean on. We'll discuss those tomorrow morning on the forecast. And E-mini S&Ps. Well, we knew. Hello. There we go. We knew that we lost some open interest on this push to the upside. We knew that we have an area of balance that we're trying to remain inside of or break outside of. How did we do today? Did we succeed? The upper end of that area of balance. Well, we were kind of looking at this level, which is 44.66, 44.67 is the balance extreme. We're trading right there now. Very indecisive in this, not finding big momentum either way away from this. In other words, we've spanned this today. The opportunities that did come our way today were pretty decent. In the S&Ps, yes. In the NASDAQ, not so much. Okay, so we know that the base of the late spike was the high of this bar right here. The base of the late spike, 44.5175. When the market opened, it drove basically right to that, which this low was 44.5275. We put in another tick lower, 52.50 in the next 30-minute bar. We never did get past this base of the late spike, if we're assuming that that was a late spike. So this was a pretty decent upside opportunity for us. Now, look at what we're seeing down here. Let me see if I can get this to cooperate. Cooperate. So overall, the movement of this market was largely from west to east. There was no big move to the upside. We got an extension to the downside, which traded basically to the volume point of control from yesterday before turning around and heading back higher. What sticks out to me is the fact that all day long, Delta became increasingly negative, increasingly negative. It's still increasingly negative. Delta, by the end of the session, more than $2,000 negative, or more than 2,000 contracts negative. What is Delta? Delta is the number of contracts that trade on the offer versus the number of contracts that trade on the bid. Buy market orders are positive delta. Sell market orders are negative delta. Looking at this delta, our sellers have been the more aggressive traders throughout the entire session, but price hasn't really moved. How does that happen? If we have a large increase in open interest after today's session, that would mean that we could recognize potential longer time frame buyers in this market against shorter time frame market order hitting sellers. Okay. And who is going to win? The longer time frame has deeper pockets, much less price sensitive. When we came down and we checked down to this point of control down here, we were in group coaching. And I said, with how negative this delta is, it wouldn't surprise me for this market to whirl around and trade back into range, even look higher on the day. Didn't quite happen, but we didn't fall apart either. We basically brought price. What are we looking at here? We're going to settle probably right around 44.53. So a slightly lower settlement on higher value. What was volume like? I'm just thinking my way through this. Volume wasn't all that bad. On an up day in a small range, not bad. So we'll be watching open interest tomorrow. And if we added a whole bunch of open interest, that's going to tell me that there was an adjustment in longer time frame that occurred. And we may end up with a short time frame trading community that is way too short. We're going to have to wait and see. NASDAQ made most on the long side in ES. Federico, it's fine. You know, if you're actually, so did I, because I was buying the low of the base of the late spike. So the NASDAQ a little bit different. No real attempt to trade above the range that we've been in. Remember, this market was under the spell of Netflix all day. What the late spike got walked through right after the open. We opened with a gap. We closed the gap right away, walked right through the late spike, right through value, down below value. We got to the base. We got to the point of control in the S&Ps. We got all the way through value and then some on this move to the downside in the NASDAQ. Well, Tesla's earnings were fine, both higher on revenue and earnings per share. Maybe that's why we're getting a little spike to the upside in the NASDAQ. Well, let's check out gold and the other markets, and let's get out of here. This is a very slow computer today. What's going on? Here's gold. There it is. All right. So, well, our auction to the upside, which we saw, was kind of dying off. We had a nice pullback to weekly kickoff low, centered the range around weekly kickoff low today. Very dangerous. We talked about that this morning on the forecast. If you're long above, short below, it can cut you to ribbons. I suggest not doing that. Wait for the market to pick a direction, look for a pullback in the opposite direction, and see if you can get some continuation. B-shaped profile, higher volume, lower open interest, long liquidation yesterday. Today, not much. Here's the 30-minute chart. So, opening in essence below weekly kickoff, right to it, capping things off for the first 3 bars, going above it, capping things off at the bottom of the next few bars. Another way that this market and this situation of the market can be beneficial. I mean, if we were looking shorts at weekly kickoff low early in the session, we had a pretty decent opportunity, and we were looking for longs above that session, above that 1952 later in the session. We had some pretty decent upside opportunities. So it wasn't that choppy. It wasn't that bad to look at the weekly kickoff level as a short below, long above. We just didn't get any continuation. As long as you didn't fall in love with those trades, you maybe had a couple of decent trades. Market continuing above that as the extended trading hour session continues, but we're going to see a settlement somewhere right around point of control at 1955.30 tomorrow. What happens with open interest? I'm not sure it's going to matter all that much. Take a look at the euro. We were opening with a gap. Gap rules proved to be correct today. Market opens, we get a little bit of an adjustment of overnight inventory that fails to close the gap. So the best opportunity was after the open and for continuation to the upside right to our overnight high. And then we just found range, just ended up range bound. One of the more fascinating markets is going to be our natural gas. I'm very interested to see how this situation plays out. But this is the 10-year. Okay, we had a close near the weekly kickoff low, not below it. We still have not had a close below the weekly kickoff low. We're finding an area of support, perhaps creating an area of balance above weekly kickoff low. But we all know what's inevitable is we're going to see higher rates, and that means these secondary market bonds and notes aren't going to have as high a rate, so you're going to have to sell them for cheaper. If rates continue to move higher, the 10-year price is going to continue to move lower. The problem is where and when. Here's the 30-minute. So traded to it yesterday, looked below it, didn't get an opportunity to see it today. The market opens in range and in value. Better trade locations come as the day goes on. We get a look down here at value low from yesterday. Buyers down there were really the ones that got paid the most. We didn't quite get to our naked point of control over here, but we had a pretty decent attempt. If you were long down here and didn't take your profit short of where you thought it might be, you still had opportunities to get out at pretty decent levels. Now, okay, in bearish engulfing pattern, island top, we're seeing continuation to the downside. How is the continuation to the downside doing? Well, yesterday we lost about 22,000 in open interest off that high. Makes sense on high volume. So we've got a pretty decent move in the opposite direction here. We've got a pretty good reversal signal, not just the bearish engulfing pattern. We've got the island top above as well. So we didn't bring in as much volume to the downside today. That's a little disturbing for continuation to the downside. More interesting, I think, is going to be the fact that we may have added a whole bunch of open interest on this push lower today. Look at how the action was treated today. No. So we closed below that weekly kickoff level. We tested up to it. We never got the chance to see it again in the regular trading hour session. We opened in range and value. We looked higher, couldn't even reach value high. What doesn't happen is as equal and as important as what does. We drove lower. We have delta. I got to change the adjustment on this, but delta moved lower the better part of the day. Delta is congruent with direction. that can be all time frames acting in concert. It was a pretty decent one time framing move until we put in the low. What's the low look like? Weak. We're in rollover, so we do have a little bit of excess down here, but not much. Not much. I was hoping this was going to be a weak low, which would indicate an unfinished downside auction, but I don't think we're done to the downside here yet. All right. Level 2, good to see you. The play was high risk but worth it because I planned my trade and traded my plan. Tesla earnings. Glimma sandwich. ES was wild today. Tom Stevens, there's a new name. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Thanks for popping in. ES felt like it was completely unpredictable. Kyle, hi ho, quick question. Lost power 30 minutes before the close. Hopefully I didn't break a rule by having it on after 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm thinking you're saying. Was able to close my positions, but hopefully before 4:10 Eastern. Otherwise, yeah, that may end up being a problem. You can always, contact our support team, see if there's anything they can help you with. But yeah, I lost internet a couple of weeks ago. I had a position on, but luckily I had stops in. But when you lose power, even if you lose power, if you have a stop in and the market gets to it while you're out of power, while you're not connected, it'll still fire. But you have to be careful with certain platforms, because certain platforms, if you have an OCO or a bracket on, like NinjaTrader, your orders are server held, but the cancel order for the one that doesn't get filled doesn't get sent because you're disconnected with the server. But Kyle, good luck with that. Let me know how things go. This day in history, yesterday was a really kind of a dark day. It was a lot of war. It was the start of the American Revolution, start of the Civil War yesterday. What was today? Try and keep things positive. Michael Jordan, 1986, I remember this, scored 63 points in a playoff game against the Boston Celtics. And in 2008, Danica Patrick becomes the first woman to win an Indy race. Pretty cool. All right. Let's see what we got as far as music is concerned. "1959, Gold Band Records releases Puppy Love by a 13-year-old Dolly Parton. The song was actually recorded 2 years earlier when she was 11. The song didn't chart. Well, I think Dolly's been pretty well. She's done pretty well ever since. "1968, Deep Purple made their live debut at a gig in Denmark. Richie Blackmore's the one that suggested the name Deep Purple. Huh. 1972, Carmen Electra was born today. Happy birthday, Carmen. I didn't know this. In 1971, five friends at San Rafael High School in California coined the term 420 as a euphemism for smoking pot. April 20th became popular day to spark one up, as does 4:20 p.m. Fans of the Grateful Dead helped spread the phase. The Boston song Smokin' clocks in at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Huh. I did not know that. I think I actually have that album on vinyl. I may have to listen to that tonight. In 2020, stuck at home in lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic, Willie Nelson staged the Come and Toke It live stream in reference to 420 Day, the unofficial weed holiday to support efforts to legalize marijuana and free those incarcerated for it. Other guests included Ziggy Marley, Casey Musgraves, Billy Ray Cyrus, and Toby Keith. I missed that. Probably on YouTube. I have to see. 420 was your exit time. Go figure. Was the 4484 important to your analysis today? If so, it happened a high rejection node on the 8th of April. 4484. Let me look at here real quick. 4484. In the S&Ps. 30. Well, it's the high from the session today. It's a value area low on the 8th, 10th, or 11th. Doesn't really stick out as something to me. I'm looking at volume profiles here, and we've got a naked volume profile just below 4,500. But there's always something I miss. 4470. Actually, $44.67 I have written down here from this morning, and really looking at that as the upper extreme of the area of balance that we've been in. So to me, 44.67 to 44.70, pretty close. 44.84, not so much. Even Snoop Dogg couldn't hang with Willie Nelson. Yeah, I think it's something that we should be considering is what kind of world we're going to leave for Willie Nelson and Keith Richards, because apparently neither of them are going nowhere. Yeah, we marked 44.70 on our charts a while back, and it's amazing how they keep coming back at us, don't they? All right. Well, give us a like, share, comment, question, feedback, heckling, and love anytime. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You get notification when we do go live. Speaking of live, we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 7:45 for the market forecast, 8:20 for Make Hogue Money. Looking forward to having another good session for us tomorrow. Bring your trade ideas. We've got perhaps our good friend Vince may be discussing his trade ideas with us tomorrow, and we're still looking for a couple of volunteers. I say volunteers, not victims. Volunteers to come up with their trade ideas, to talk, to share the screens. We're going to vote. We're going to try and take some trades, if there are trades. I think maybe we get a little bit too aggressive, as most people do when we've only got a short period of time to look for opportunities. So we're going to slow things down maybe a little bit. We'll see. All right. Looking forward to tomorrow. Get a good night's rest tonight. Be good to each other. Be good to yourself. We work too hard at this not to be good to ourselves. Please continue to pray for peace, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning. Blessings to you all. Trade well.